Okay, guys and gals, we're going to get started on the four-wheeler now. And I have already installed the battery back here, and I have power to the battery. As you can see with my test light there lit up, but I have nothing happening when I turn the ignition switch up front here. The lights should light up for the shifter thing. There's nothing happening there, so I don't know if it's in neutral or not. Let me try the start button just for the fun of it. Ain't nothing happening with the start button. Nothing at all. So we got to get into the electrics of it, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, the gas tank I know has to come off because it's messed up, as I showed you inside already. So I'm going to take it off because it'll give me better access down inside. And not only will I be able to see the wiring, but I'll be able to see the fuel connections and all that good stuff. And what is that thing? This must be the fuel shutoff right here. Yeah. Turn it on and off. But it's hooked underneath this fuel line, I think it is. Let me see. Oh, that's wiring going through there. But that is definitely for the fuel shutoff. I think we'll take that out of the way because that's evidently connected to the gas tank. Because as you see, when I lift up on this, that moves up and down too. And it looks like there's a pivot point here, but there's no bolt in it, not on the other side either. So let me take this off and we'll go from there. Now, I've never worked on one of these before. I had a three-wheeler that I worked on for my son's nephew. Well, that was easy enough. There it is, just one screw. Now it wants to lift up. What is holding it now? Well, part of what's holding it is the fuel line and the fuel shutoff, which is right underneath here. And I can't get you down in there to see it, so I'll get that unhooked. Go from there. Just in case you're curious, this is the fuel line we're disconnecting back in here. This is the fuel shutoff here, which is on the bottom of the tank. There we go. Now we can see the top of the motor, top of the frame, see the carburetor and all that good stuff. Okay, the fuel tank popped right up and off. It just slides out of these units right here. Let me get my fingers down there, get you down there where I'm pointing. There's little rubber mounts that slide in there. So once you get these back bolts out and you get the fuel line disconnected, it slides back and comes up. And now you can see our fuel shutoff valve, and I can see right off the bat that it's corroded on the bottom. And if you look into the nozzle there where the line goes, it looks like it's probably got gobbledygook inside. So we're going to have to be taking that all apart and cleaning that along with the gas tank. We'll set that off to the side. I suppose it would be advantageous to know if this thing is seized. I have already pulled it over before I even brought it home. And it has compression, good compression, and it turns over. So that's a good thing. But our first priority at the moment is to find out why we don't have any electric up to our ignition switch. Bring you over here so you can see the ignition switch better. And there's our ignition switch right up there at the bottom of the handlebar unit. So I think what we need to do is we need to peel this down and see if we can get up in there. So because this is just a on and off, I'm thinking that really all this is a kill switch. I'm going to pull the key right out. I'll set that down here on the bench. I probably should put my glasses on so I can see what I'm looking at. That's always a good idea, isn't it? It just so happens that I got my new glasses in the mail today. My new safety glasses. And they're so new that I haven't even taken the tags off them yet. How do you like them apples? If Andrew was here, he'd tell me, oh, he likes them apples pretty good. My new safety glasses. Yep, and all it says is off and ignition. So we're gonna, and it has off and on up here on this rubber piece. And underneath this rubber piece that says Honda on it. And it's just held on by little rubber tabs. We're going to pull this off too. The whole thing is loose. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it right off. And we're going to take this whole cover off. Make it easy on ourselves to get at things. Just two screws holding it on from what I could see. Just like that. Two screws, a plug on the ignition switch, and wires going up to the neutral indicator, shift indicator. Of course, they're on either side of the thing, so you can't just lift it up and out of the way naturally. That would be too simple, wouldn't it? Okay, so now I have pulled my switch down, switch plate down in here, and here is my switch, and I have sliced the casing on the wiring so that I could get my electrical probe in there. And I showed you I have power at the battery. Now I'm going to probe into this wire. This red wire should be the power wire. Let's see if I can, oh, look at that. See that? Can you see it? No, you can't. So I've got the thing zoomed in too much maybe. See that? We got power there going up to the switch. Now the next question is, that's with it off, will I have power going out of the switch to anything at all? Nothing there on the black and white. Nothing there on the green. I don't expect to be anything on the black, because the black should be a ground. basically, as well as turning the ignition on and off. Yeah, nothing there. So this is probably a problem with the ignition switch, because I keep losing you. You keep looking off in the other direction. There's probably a problem with the ignition switch, because we've got power going in but no power coming out, which is why these lights here, okay, let me zoom you back, which is why these lights up here don't light up. They should be on for either reverse or neutral, and I'm not getting any indication at all when I shift the gears whether I'm in neutral Yep, it's not showing reverse, not showing neutral, so we got nothing coming down to the engine. So my next thing to do is to trace the wires down here in the harness on the other side. And I suppose before I get going too much further, I should check the oil on the engine. And sometimes, I'm not sure exactly, but I think sometimes on these motors the oil for the engine is also the same as the transmission. Is that true? I don't know. This is a learning experience for me, so this is not a how-to, this is how I'm learning, and hopefully you can learn along with me. Now I do see right down here, can you see that? Probably not, the fender is probably in your way. I do see that right down in here there is a dipstick with a lot of garbage around it. So we'll clean that off pretty good there. Get rid of the gobbledygooks. Oh my, that puppy's in there. Well, that's a good thing. Well, looks like it's over full a little bit, and it's pretty black, but I don't see any indication of water in it, and that's a good thing. So we're good enough for starting purposes anyway. So our next chore is get some electric to the starter and to our ignition system. I have a sneaking suspicion that if I get power to the starter, we'll also have power to the ignition system. Okay, now we're getting down to the basics, and we can see some stuff now. Should make it a little easier for tracing things. Okay, back to tracing wires. Well, while we're taking stuff apart, I already undid the clips. We probably should look down in here at the air filter box. Oh yeah, that's nasty. The canister is all coming apart. It's not hooked up at all, and the foam is all deteriorating, nastified, which means thankfully it doesn't look like there's any mousage down in there. Can you see anything down in there? I can't see, it's too dark. But it appears that it's clear. Maybe what we should do is undo this bolt here and undo this clamp over here and take this air box right out. It's going to need to be cleaned, and that'll give us more access again. Let's do it. Well, in the interest of getting more things apart so they can be soaking or whatever, take this off of here. The throttle linkage is stuck, but it might be because the carburetor is stuck. Yeah, and I think, it's a very strong think, but I think that this carburetor is identical to the carburetor on the Goofy cart. How cool would that be, hey? Yeah, if I could get this to pull up out of there. I know I tried using the throttle up here. It's got a thumb throttle. You can see that's moving there. So it's trying, so it's not the cable. It's down in the carburetor itself that it's stuck. So let me spray some PB Blaster down in there. Help if you had some PB Blaster in your can that would squirt out, wouldn't it? Let's go over here and get another can off of the shelf. That would make it a whole lot easier. Ah, yeah. That's going. So, oh yeah, look at that. It's dripping out back here too. So the PB Blast is going all the way down inside. Now I don't want to ruin the cable, because if that cable is good, that could save us a lot of aggravation. So we'll wait on those two things, and I'll go back to working on the electrical, don't you know. I did notice that my pedal brake works for what it's worth. I don't know how good the brakes are. They're probably all rusted up, but we ain't worried about that at the moment. And I also noticed, now that I have all the shrouding and stuff like that off, that my handbrake also works, although it's the handbrake lever up top is corroded and stuck. And I've shot that with PB Blaster too. And I think it's mostly up in this area right here where the pivot is. So we'll keep lubricating that and hoping that works. Now if you behave yourselves and sit there, we'll pull the spark plug out of here. Except that's the wrong size socket. Must be bigger than that one. It's not a full size spark plug socket. Keep going till we get the right one here. That one's too big. Wait a minute now. let's look at something else here. Let's check this out. Ha ha ha! Factory toolbox. And it still has the tools in it. The owner's manual is missing, but it's got all the wrenches. How cool is that? And it has the right spark plug socket and the wrench to go with it. I'll clean this wrench up a little bit and we'll try that on for size. Alright then, let's try this puppy. Oh, it's already loose. Look at that spark plug. Looks like it's brand new. Like it ain't never been fired even. Well, that'll save us some effort, don't you think? Suppose we could, just for grins and giggles, how am I going to be able to do this so I can see it? Okay, I'm going to wiggle you around because I'm going to pull on the cord. Let me make sure the key's turned on, because I think all this does is kill it when you turn the key off. Well, no spark, which isn't a total surprise though, is it? So I'll have to learn how to check and set the points on this thing. I'm sure it does have points. Okay, well, we've been messing around in here trying to get these fittings off, and I couldn't get the clamps to loosen up. Hi Jakes, how you doing, buddy? But we broke the clamps loose, and I hope I can get these hoses to the intake box to come off of here. If I can get Jakes to get out of the way. What are you doing there, Jakes? My other assistant. He likes to come in and hang out in the shop with me. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. You gonna say hi to the folks in the camera? Huh? Gotta get a bigger screwdriver. This should do the trick, shouldn't it? Go. There's one clamp that we cut. If we can get it to come up out of here. There's the other clamp that we cut. Now we can empty the garbage out of it. we'll have good access to the carburetor. Oh, I'll have to take that up and wash that out. Set that in the back there. And I'll bring you over here and let you see how much more access we have now. I know, I keep putting off getting into the wiring, don't I? Yeah, well, it's because these other things will have to be done as well. And the choke cable is working up front, but it ain't working here. It ain't doing nothing. And it looks to me like the choke is probably stuck. And that's because the piston inside the carburetor here is stuck. And that's going to be a problem, because even if I want to change, see, that's not stuck there, but my cable, either my cable is stuck, can't tell. It's not stuck up the front. Must be broken, because you see my choke cable here, it works up and down nice and freely, so it's not doing anything back here. So we must have a broken cable in there somewhere. Just one more thing to tinker with, don't you know? So I think my next thing to do, and I could see my overflow tube is not hooked up down there. That goes on the bottom of the carburetor down in there. I think the next thing to do is take the carburetor right off. What do you think? Yeah, that'll give me better access to this, but it won't make it any easier to take it out if the piston is frozen down inside of the cylinder here, which is what I'm afraid it is. So what are you saying, Jinx, huh? You say this is enough for today? You want to say goodbye? Say goodbye, Jinx. Say goodbye. Alright. He just wants to rub his head against everything. Yep, you're a good boy. Yes, you are. You're a good boy. He's my buddy. Well, I think that'll do us for today. We'll let the PV blaster soak down in there overnight. Maybe that'll free that up. Who knows? I don't have a lot of faith in most of these things that are supposed to free up rusty bolts and so forth. Generally speaking, they don't do what they claim to do. That's generally speaking. So until next time, this is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and this is our Honda 200 SX four-wheeler project. Bye for now. We're really going to get into it now.